Hello. We have always been told that you can't take the square root of a negative number. That's not entirely true. We can, but we're dealing with imaginary numbers when we do. The imaginary unit is I. So lowercase I write it like that, and it's equal to the square root of negative 1. I is equal to the square root of negative 1. Why is that? Well, what is the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. And the reason is 2 times 2 is 4. And negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. The reason the square root of 4 is 2, or negative 2, is because when you multiply them together, you get 4. Well, by the same token, the reason I is the square root of negative 1 is I times I is equal to negative 1. So I is the square root of negative 1. I times I must equal negative 1. All right, what we're going to look at now is I to different powers. I is equal to the square root of negative 1. I squared is equal to negative 1. I cubed is equal to I times I squared. I squared, remember, is negative 1. I times negative 1, or I cubed. And then I to the fourth can be broken down to I squared times I squared. I squared, remember, is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1, or positive 1. I to the fourth is positive 1. I to the fourth equals 1. So what does I to the 25th equal? Well, we're going to use our power to a power rule, and I to the 25th can be written as I to the fourth raised to the sixth power times I. All right, I'll show you how I did this in a minute. I to the fourth is 1. I 1 to the sixth power is 1, so it's just equal to I. Well, the way I did this, since I know that I to the 25th is I times I times I 25 times, and every 4 of those i's multiplied together gives me 1, all I did was take 25 divided by 4, and I get 6 remainder 1. This 6 is where that 6 came from, and the 1 that's left over is right here. Let's do one more. I to I to the 31st. So 31 divided by 4 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28, we have a remainder of 3. So this is I to the 4th raised to the 7th times I cubed. I to the 4th raised to the 7th becomes 1. All right, we can just forget about it. And I cubed, remember, is equal to, I made a mistake there, negative I. I think I said it right. All right, so I to the 31st equals negative I. Just revisit this. I cubed is I times I squared. I squared is negative 1. I times negative 1 is negative I. All right. We have a rule with imaginary numbers, like we do with radicals, that I can't have an I in the denominator. I to the 13th over, let's just say 1. So there's a couple ways we can do this. First thing I'm going to do is simplify it. I to the 13th, 13 divided by 4 is 3, remainder 1. So I have I to the 4th raised to the 3rd times I. This becomes 1, so we have 1 over I. But I still have I in the denominator. So what I do is I multiply numerator and denominator by I cubed, in this case, not always I cubed. Why I cubed? Because in the denominator, 3 plus 1 is 4. I have I to the 4th, and I to the 4th is equal to 1. So I have I cubed over 1, and I cubed, remember, is negative I divided by 1 is negative I. All right? We want the denominator to be a multiple of 4. So let's do one more. 1 over I to the 6th power, which is 1 over, this is another way to do it. Instead of simplifying first, all I have to do is multiply by I squared, to make the denominator a multiple of 4. 6 plus 2 is 8. I get I squared over I to the 8th, which is I squared over I to the 4th squared, or 1. I squared is negative 1 over 1, or negative 1. And we're done. That's all there is to it. Tomorrow we'll look at adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing imaginary numbers. And that's it. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day.